What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Everything College Basketball Podcast, episode 211. I'm, of course, your host, Josh Burton, and joining me today on this fine Thursday afternoon are a pair of my teammates, Michael DeRosa, Coach Scott Parra. Gentlemen, it is another Thursday come. We're about to head into another big weekend of college basketball with a lot of exciting matchups this weekend. We have some upsets yet again from this early part of the week to talk about. But before we get into all that, how are you guys doing on this Thursday afternoon?
Well, I've survived a snowstorm in Houston. So there is something you never think you're going to say on any podcast anywhere. But we got through it. I think one more night of cold weather, and we will be back in the 50s and 60s here. But very interesting couple of days down here in the deep, deep South.
Love it.
Been nice up here, just a little bit of a light week for me. So just, getting back in the swing of thing with some hoops. And there were some games last night that really impressed me. There were some teams that jumped out to me. So I'm excited to talk about them.
And I was live at one of them, so I'll be happy to talk about that one when we get a chance.
It has been brutally cold the last couple of days. We finally got a little reprieve today, and that was with a high of like 29. I mean, it has been, Coach, I'm talking about Monday. I go out to my car to get it ready, warm it up to go to work. And I'm out there 3 minutes at most. My windshield wipers, because I didn't leave them up, they froze to the windshield. And I almost got frostbite on my right thumb here. Just the wind, just brutal right in your face, like killing you, negative wind chill. It's been brutal. So hopefully I like the winter. I don't like that type of cold. You know what I'm saying? Like I like snow and stuff, but I don't like that type of cold. So I'm hoping that's gone here soon.
Yeah. And here we are, January 20, whatever. And we're deep into it now. That college basketball is going to be on everybody's minds and mouths here moving forward. And so it's approaching the fun months here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure. It's crazy to think about next week will be in February. Like it goes like that. But we do have a big show today on this Thursday afternoon edition of the podcast here. And you know how we are. We start with news if there's newsworthy stuff. There's two things just real quick I want to touch on that I thought from the week so far has been big news if you look cross nationally. One has to do with the recruit, and then one has to do with, I know we hate talking about him, but Arkansas stays in the headlines. Boogie Fland out for the year, and that was kind of a big topic of discussion, especially if you believe in some conspiracy theories. He hurt his hand, they said, I wanted to say it was the Florida game a few games ago, a couple weeks ago, and played through it, played like the LSU game, played the Missouri game, and of course Arkansas loses all those. And then it comes out, John Rothstein breaks the news the other night that he's done for the year. And you're talking about an Arkansas team who struggles to score, cannot shoot. And this kid is a freshman, was second in SEC in assists per game. He was eighth nationally in assists to turnover percentage. Despite not shooting it well, he was by far their best offensive threat that they had. Arkansas loses him. And what do they do in their first game last night? They get their first SEC win of the year. So, Michael, losing Boogie Fland, obviously they kind of had the initial bounce back. Like normally when you fire a coach or a player's out, they kind of rally. But Boogie Fland being out just absolutely kills a team that is super thin as it is.
Yeah, and just based on a little bit of this game I watched last night, it looks like there was a lot of DJ Wagner running the point, which I think is just interesting just to see how that projects.
And Billy Richmond those were the two. They had to go Billy Richmond running backup point guard.
Yeah, and I don't know how that's going to work. I will not be putting that other comment up, Trev. But yeah, I don't know. I am really interested to see how this looks for this Arkansas team. I am someone who would, I guess that these are the conspiracy theories I believe. Just whether or not a player is going to come back, stuff like that, we don't know. But they rallied last night. Last night I don't know if it was like they won in spite of Boogie Fland. Without Boogie Fland, they win that game by even more or whatever. But I just think it was a decent matchup for them last night, a good spot, and rather they still cannot shoot from the outside. They found a way to win and beat a Georgia team that was fairly vulnerable in this spot, in my opinion.
I have no idea what's going on with Arkansas.
Yeah.
I mean, how can anybody read this? I mean, what in the hell?
Yeah. I mean, without putting it out, you know what the hell with it? We're always honest. The conspiracy theories, because Cal he'll never officially admit it, but at Kentucky, like the Shaden Sharp issue where he kept telling you, oh, he's going to play, and he never suited up for Kentucky. And then it seemed like every year or every other year you had a top player that maybe fallen down the draft stock a little bit because they weren't performing, and then all of a sudden they're setting out to improve, keep their draft hopes alive. And the Arkansas people that I've been listening to think this is what's happened to Boogie Fland. Now, I'm not saying we don't know. The kid, obviously, I think has hurt his hand, but I'm just saying what the conspiracy theories are out there because there's been proof that's been done. But they won last night. They got their first SEC win. It was at home. It was ugly as hell. Not good, aesthetically basketball, but they got a win. Boogie Fland being out, we will see. Cal chose to only go 8 dudes on this roster, and we'll see if it comes back to bite them even more. But they got to win. Boogie Fland out. We do hope the kid gets better. Extremely talented kid. Had a rough year so far, but extremely talented.
Wasn't the end of that crazy? Didn't the kid throw the ball, chases the miss off and lay it in? And
he didn't.
I want to leave that into a couple other crazy endings. That's why I'm bringing this up. Right, he's on the free throw line, made the first, missed the second, chased it, got it, and laid it in.
Yeah, didn't even need to. That free throw he made put him up one with 1.1 left, and he decided to go up. Why did the other team not block out? What was going on? I think Georgia, if you watch that, because he missed it, if I remember right, was it back iron or right off? I forget how he missed it, but
back iron.
Back iron. It kind of rifled off, and Georgia just kind of stunned. I mean, they literally were stunned. And you know what makes it worse? Cal tucked Big Z off the line. So literally there was no Arkansas players. It was 4 Georgia players, and they allowed that to happen.
Why did the kid run after it? He could have run into somebody and fouled him.
I don't know. I think Georgia in that perspective was just shocked, to be honest. I think they were shocked.
Well, talk shocking endings. How about Florida?
Yeah.
And then let's talk about San Diego State Air Force.
Yeah, I saw that when I woke up. Yeah.
Now, Air Force, the coach in me, I couldn't even. I was just sick because I've been Air Force. I've been trying to beat, San Diego State or Memphis, whoever it is, right? And you have them, and they let that kid get the ball like he's in the gym by himself. And go coast to coast and land it at the buzzer. I just felt so bad for those kids. I mean, good for San Diego State. Kid made a great, smart play. Didn't panic. Didn't pull up and shoot it. Took it all the way in. Dribble a second, whatever the rule, and lost the buzzer. Crazy ending. Crazy.
Yeah, you mentioned Florida, South Carolina. The Gators do not lead pretty much that whole game. And on the road in Columbia, and South Carolina kind of blows it. Florida makes a play, hits some free throws, and wins the game.
Great finish by Will Richard.
And then the same thing also in the SEC last night. Texas A&M does not lead. They lose 39 minutes and 56 seconds. They're losing that entire game. Zerk Phelps hits a 3, their only lead. They win the game.
It was Obaseki. It was Manny Obaseki.
Obaseki, yes, not Zerk Phelps. You're right, man. I think they call him Obaseki.
I think it is Obaseki. You're right.
Obaseki. But anyways, Obaseki hits the 3, gives them the lead. They win on the road in a top 25 game against Ole Miss. Literally their only lead of the game.
Josh, what was the title of this show? I didn't see the title. What did you name the show?
I struggled for a title this week. Normally I'm really good about
text you. I mean, this is play 40 minutes, right?
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah.
I saw a stat, and I've been trying to pull it up while you guys were talking, but I believe I saw something that was the 3 SEC teams that won last night led for a combined minute and a half.
I think shout out Trevor. I think he sent us a text last night. Georgia, Ole Miss, and South Carolina led for 119 minutes and 14 seconds of 120 minutes of game time combined. They went 0-3. All 3 of them.
Unbelievable.
Crazy.
What's the odds from that? Shout out Peter Burns from SEC Network and ESPN on that stat too. And I titled this because we're about to get into this game in a second. Buckeyes down Purdue, plus they look ahead to the Bruce Pearl Bowl, which is a big game this week, and we're going to talk about. The last piece of news I want to talk about before we get into all that revolves around high school recruiting. The top remaining senior that is unsigned yet, 5-star Caleb Wilson. We've talked about him a little bit on this show before. Phenomenal player, versatile, athletic, kind of that 6'9", plays power forward, but he's not like a old school power forward. He's very modern, can block shots, run the rim. His shot still needs work, but he's a dude. He is ready to play. And for months now, it's been Kentucky, Carolina, depending on who you listen to. A couple months ago, it was Kentucky heavy. Then here lately, the mood's kind of changed. North Carolina lean. He is committing tonight after the Lakers-Celtics game on inside the NBA with Shaq, Ernie, Barkley, and Kenny Smith. So it's going to be in a big spot, but it's going to be at like midnight. So it's going to be late for his commitment. The heavy money has favored North Carolina. So it sounds like North Carolina, despite everything's going on with turmoil of losing games and hot seats, they're primed to get a huge commitment tonight. And it makes sense because Kenny Smith's on that show, Tar Heel guy. So, DeRosa, you follow high school recruiting kind of like I do. This will be a huge commitment. Caleb Wilson's the real deal.
Yeah, I watched him a bit. He played with, oh my goodness, I can't think of the team name. The team that had the Boozer twins over the summer.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I can't think of the team.
I can't think of their name. It's total brain fart. But he was a really good rotational piece for them. He wasn't like the dominant guy or anything like that, but he knew exactly how to play in his role and just made that team so much better. I mean, it was they dominated everybody over the summer for the AAU scene. They were just excellent. I think they only lost once, and it was takeover, and that's it. And yeah. I mean, that's team takeover. That's one of the best AAU programs in the country. Wilson can play. You mentioned you pretty much gave a very broad scouting report. I haven't taped him too deeply because he wasn't looking at any Big East schools. So you gave the picture. Yeah. And I would expect him to commit to UNC as well.
Yeah. I mean, doing it inside the NBA, that's obviously a massive show with some huge personalities. But man, if you're a Carolina fan, I guess you want to stay up till well past midnight because that Lakers-Celtics game is going to go late, probably.
They're looking for some good news, so they'll be up, I guess.
So it looks like North Carolina is in for good news. We will update this on Sunday once he makes it official tonight. But big spot. I mean, right after a huge rivalry game in the NBA on national television on TNT. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Let's talk about some action from this week. And I want to start with the number 10 team in the country, according to our latest poll that came out Monday. Purdue has a 26-game home win streak, and Mackey Arena snapped to the hands of Ohio State back on Tuesday night. And Purdue, the crazy stat, Purdue led by as many as 16 points in this game. They were up 41-25 with 24 seconds left to go in the first half, and Ohio State rallied. Now, we've talked a good amount about Ohio State this year, where the talent's there. They've got good wins with Kentucky. They get a big win at Mackey, something that Alabama couldn't do, and a lot of other really good teams could not do here in the last couple years. And Bruce Thornton, their best player, only had 11 points. They get 22 from Micah Parrish, 16 from Devin Royal. Nobody else in double figures. But to rally at a building like Mackey, down 16, coach, to come back and get a huge win. I mean, Ohio State, their record does not scream NCAA tournament. They're 11-8 now, 3-5 in the Big Ten. But if they can reel off a couple more, their resume is going to start looking kind of nice.
Well, yeah,
if they can reel off a couple more.
Yeah, one of the things about them, I think, that stands out as we've talked about and watched them, obviously they're Jekyll and Hyde, but when they're good, they're really good. I mean, they've beat some really good teams, and to win at Purdue is as hard as it gets. So can they find any sort of consistency here? Because they're on the path of probably not making it, but wins, like you said, wins like that will certainly get you in the conversation real quick if you can win 3 in a row, right?
The good thing about this year's Big Ten is we've talked about it's pretty wide open, and we think it's the number 2 conference right now behind the SEC, which means there's going to be a lot of quad 1, quad 2 opportunities. They just have to avoid the pitfalls. You can't lose. Luckily for them, they don't play Minnesota anymore. But you can't drop a game to Washington right at home. You can't lose. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of pitfall games you probably shouldn't lose, and a lot of good opportunities to get more quad 1, quad 2 wins, DeRosa. Let's say they get to 19 wins somehow, right? Let's say they're 19-11. And you've got wins over Purdue, Kentucky. Let's say they take down Illinois on the road here coming up next week. Let's say they beat Michigan at home. You know what I'm saying? They start stacking these resume wins to go along with Purdue, Kentucky. They're firmly on the bubble. They go to the Big Ten tournament with that type of resume, maybe only needing 1 win to get in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, probably. The harder part, though, is going to be getting those wins, obviously. I mean, Coach mentioned it, and I completely agree with him. This Ohio State team is really Jekyll and Hyde. Some games they come out and they just look like killers. Like the way they played Kentucky is one of the better performances we've seen all season.
Yep.
But I mean, that was following an Auburn loss where they quit 10 minutes into the game. Like, so it's what version of this team are you going to get? You get a great game from Micah Parrish. Is he going to be consistent with that? Don't know.
Didn't they have two 40-point losses, Michael?
Yeah, Maryland beat them by 34 too.
I mean, just destroyed them. It was like 40-10 at halftime.
Yeah. Yep. So it's just what version of Ohio State you're going to get. If they can find a way to start being consistent, put them together. But at the same time, before that Purdue win, they're coming off of close losses to Oregon, a game which, if I remember correctly, they blew a big lead in one of these three. But Oregon, Wisconsin, and Indiana, those games were all
5 points.
Yeah,
combined 5 points.
They got lucky in beating Minnesota. Very lucky. Minnesota should have won that game like 5 times, and they just didn't. And Ohio State found a way. So maybe if this can lead to them stringing some wins together, but it is also not above this team to come out, play Iowa at home, and just get waxed.
Yep. I completely agree. I mean, that's a big win. And again, I think, Coach, the metrics are showing what we've talked about because strength of schedule. We've talked about the wins over Purdue and Kentucky. Auburn killed them, but that doesn't hurt the metrics at all. Maryland's in the top 25 of the Ken Pom. Pittsburgh's 32nd. Texas A&M, even in losses, like even Texas, 39th in Ken Pom. So they've got a really strong strength of schedule, and there's opportunities there. Ohio State is 29th now in Ken Pom. So the metrics are in their favor. I maybe even 18. If they can, let's say, go 18-12, you go to the Big Ten tournament with a lot of optimism that you may be on the right side of the bubble come Selection Sunday. That's a big win. As far as Purdue, Coach, like 26-game home win streak is nothing to sneeze at. We know how tough Mackey is. Here's the thing with Purdue. Like Trey Kaufman-Renn has been awesome here lately. Like he's actually been really good all year. Like remember we talked about the Alabama win. He was a big factor in that win earlier in the year. Trey Kaufman-Renn goes for 26 points. They get 15 from Fletcher Lawyer, and they get 12 from Braden Smith. But yet again, they get hardly nothing from anybody else. 9 from CJ Cox, 8 from Jakari Harris, 2 freshmen combined for 17 points. Nothing, literally no other points from anybody else. Purdue, as much as we came on here Sunday and the weeks prior, like talk about, man, Purdue's starting to figure it out. If there's something that scares you, it's the fact that the depth, I don't think, is there for Purdue.
And they just came off that West Coast sweep.
Yep.
Coming home to the friendly confines of the home winning streak, and against a team that's vulnerable to be blown out at their and they lay an egg. You're right. Another team. And we talked, I think, off the air, right, Michael, about St. John's.
Yeah.
Purdue in a way too. Hard to figure out, when they're good, they're good, but they're susceptible to being beat. I mean, they're not like they've been where you're like, oh shit, like, Purdue's in our bracket, they're going to, roll. Yep. They've had some clunkers.
And I think Trevor, his comment here is right. A guy like Cam Heide needs to be that fourth option, I think. Like Jakari Harris, the freshman we talked about, CJ Cox and Jakari Harris, they're dudes who are projects. Like next year, sophomores, you would hope by juniors, that's when they'll really start to kind of take over. But again, like our guy like Cam Heide needs to probably be the fourth option. They're just not getting anything from anybody besides that big three, and foul trouble can eliminate that. Turnovers, bad shooting nights can eliminate that. And yeah, I think Purdue's kind of in that list of teams in maybe that second, third tier of teams in the country that you look at like on their best night, they're really good. Like they can make another run, but on their bad nights, to what DeRosa said earlier about who were you talking about? Were you talking about Florida? Whoever it was, but they could go out and to lose the Lipscomb right in round one.
Yeah, St. John's.
Let me ask both of you guys this question. As I'm listening to Josh talk about this, how many teams right now on what is the date? 23rd?
23rd, yep.
Do you think realistically could make the Final Four?
I think, DeRosa, you'll probably disagree. I think there's 3 teams that we've talked about a lot that are clear favorites right now that I would almost, not locks, you can never put them locks, but I feel really strongly probably could get to the Final Four. That would be Duke, Iowa State, and Auburn. right? Then I think there's like a list of like 15, 20.
How many? That's what I want to know.
I think maybe like 15 or 20.
Michael?
Yeah, I would probably go. I don't know. On one hand, it's like you're always due for a run in March. Like if one team just gets really hot, they can find a way and just hit some shots. Like FAU did it a couple years back. We can definitely point to other Cinderella runs. Like those are always very possible. Yeah, I think Josh's number, I would probably say a little less than that if we're going like teams that I would be like comfortable with picking to make a Final Four. I think would be the way I'd
I'm not saying pick them.
No,
I'm saying
he's saying.
Yeah, so I'm saying more like teams that I'm like, okay, I can see them. Like I can see how they make the Final Four. Like if you're asking me today, I'm not going to pick a VCU, say, even though they could get hot, right? But I'm not going to pick a VCU. But like I could see a way like a Texas A&M makes a Final Four.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me go down.
Like 12.
Let me go down the top 30 real quick, Ken Palm. Just give me a yay or nay, right? We'll take out Duke, Auburn, and Iowa State. Just real quick. If you can see them getting to a Final
Thumb up or thumb down.
Okay. Houston.
Yeah.
Florida.
Definitely.
Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas.
Yeah.
Alabama. Illinois. Purdue. Texas Tech.
Hold it. Yeah,
Okay.
Purdue, no, Michael?
Purdue, no. Texas Tech, yes.
I'm going to reverse that. I'll say Purdue, yes. Texas Tech, no.
I'm going to go with Coach there. I think Purdue, yay. Texas Tech, just on the outside. I don't fully trust them yet. Michigan. Marquette. Michigan State. Texas A&M. Gonzaga. Arizona. Ole Miss. Kentucky. St. John's. Wisconsin. Mississippi State, Louisville, Maryland, Oregon, Clemson, St. Mary's, Baylor, Ohio State, and Missouri.
The rest of those.
So 14 to 18?
That's what I'm saying. So it's not as crazy when you put in that, like if you go down that list and like Coach said, 14 to 18, 15 to 20 is not crazy. We're talking about teams that can make a Final Four. I think it's a pretty deep list this year.
Me too.
We're going to talk about a team later that I think could be a deep, deep sleeper to make a Final Four run.
Perfect. I love it. Speaking of Tennessee, let's go to the Vols.
You going to call a bank on it, Michael?
No, it's too early. Too early. Actually, let me check if they play this weekend.
All right.
While you do that, let's go to back to the SEC. We just talked about Tennessee and the list there. Number 9 Tennessee, all over number 13 Mississippi State, back home, coming off the loss at the weekend to Vandy on the road. They're back home in Thompson-Boling Arena. They jumped Mississippi State early. Like Chaz Lanier had the first, I think it was like 8, 9, 10 points. Like he was awesome. He ended up with a game high 23, 5 of 12 from the 3-point line. Tennessee's defense stifled Mississippi State. They had them down by 20 at one point. Mississippi State goes on a rally. Like, to Mississippi State's credit, Chris Jan's teams never quit, but they did get bullied in this game. Tennessee wins 68-56. Like, and again, this is another one of those games. This is how Tennessee, if they were to make a Final Four for the first time in school history, we talk about it all the time, Coach. This is how they have to do it. You limit the other team to preferably below 60 points, but below 70 for sure. And you just kind of ride hot streaks of your best players and trust your defense to close games out. And this is what they did against Mississippi State.
I want to hear Lanier come into press conference and say that's what they pay me to do.
He should have.
He should have.
He should have. That's a great point right there.
We all called that one, I think, right? We all thought the bounce back coming home.
I actually went Mississippi State. I went opposite because I thought the offense would carry, but Tennessee stifled them.
Yep. And so, they needed it. And I went with a more desperate team on that one, right? That was kind of my take. And they were at home. And they played. Look, when Tennessee plays really well too, it's like they're going to be hard to beat, especially in that arena. So, and Lanier makes 5 threes, great player, big win.
Well, you can tell, DeRosa, when I've kind of found a tell about Chaz Lanier. If that first kind of segment of the game, the first 10 minutes of the game, if he's coming out like he did in this game, where he's aggressive, looking for a shot. Now a lot of them were open because Tennessee was just getting him wide open somehow. But if he's aggressive, and he sees a couple go in early, he's going to have a 23-point night more times than not. But if that first 10-minute segment, if he's missing shots, maybe gets a little foul trouble, he may have a game like he has here in recent times in the losses where he only goes for 9 points. So I think normally for him, the tell is Does he come out hot early? If so, he usually carries it through. If he doesn't rebound as far as scoring and shooting the ball as good as some other players do. He was hot, though, the other night.
Yeah, I buy it. I mean, he's a streaky player. He's not the same. I mean, he's not Dalton Connect from last year, but like he's a player. And the other guys around him have really stepped up. The guys around him are really, really good. It's Tennessee. I feel like we all know that. One note for me in this game is Zakai Ziegler had 5 steals, just hounding. You mentioned like the hounding defense. Mississippi State was 9 of 23 from inside the arc. They made more threes than twos. And Mississippi State's on a team that generally takes a ton of threes. And Tennessee just hounded them. This is a really, really good Tennessee team. I feel like we've talked about him at length. I like Josh's point too on Chaz Lanier. That's definitely something I'm going to be watching for down the line. But this team's really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, just keep an eye on. You'll see him Saturday, right? We'll talk about that big matchup. But usually the first 10 minutes, like if he comes out hot, it's going to be a big game. If he struggles, he doesn't rebound as well. It takes Tennessee having a Zakai Ziegler. And I want to give you credit on Sunday's show previewing this. You thought that this would be a good spot for Felix Okpara. 9 points, 12 rebounds, really held his own and kind of dominated during stretches on the interior against Mississippi State's size and athleticism and strength inside. Good call on Okpara. He really played a big part in this win. Tennessee, it's going to be hard to beat them in Thompson-Boling, especially if you can't score more than 60 points. So good win for Tennessee. Keeps them right there in the mix in the SEC. Let's go to the ACC in a game we talked about. Desperate teams. You have one team kind of on the ascent, one team that is, I don't know what I'll say about them, Coach. Just not good. Like North Carolina's not good. I'm trying to be nice about it, but North Carolina is not good. Wake Forest wins 67-66. It should have ended 67-63, but RJ Davis makes a pointless 3 at the buzzer. Okay, but Wake Forest gets a win. Their win streak is now up to 6 games since the Clemson loss back on December 21st. I think we talked to Hunter from NKY Bracketology on Sunday about this. I haven't seen or talked to him about the kind of projections now, but I think when his new bracket comes out tomorrow, you're going to see Wake in, North Carolina out, Coach.
And rightfully so. You nailed it, Josh. One team is ascending, and the other one is circling the drain. Boy, they're just, you're right. They're not a very good basketball team right now. They are not upholding the standard of what that place has been and is used to. And I don't know that they can dig out of this. It may not get much prettier. And by the way, as we've talked about all year, the ACC has a lot of wins to be had, and they're not putting themselves in position here to finish strong. And Wake certainly is getting hot at the end of January or middle of January to the end. We'll see if it carries into February.
Yeah, Wake has a really tough stretch coming up.
Yep.
Duke comes to town. Good luck. At Louisville, who is looking like a top 20-ish team in the country.
Yeah.
Home to Pittsburgh, who I think has been pretty solid this year. Then you got to go on the road, go out west, go to Stanford, and then Cal. That's going to be a really telling stretch. They started this well. It sounds like Josh got burnt on the -1.5, so I'm sorry for that.
I didn't lay a bet down. I didn't.
I didn't either.
I was saying it in jest. You know how they'll throw a shot up, and it's like, okay, whatever.
We've all been on the wrong side. If you've been on the wrong side of those couple times.
Of course, yeah.
But
no comment. No, I'm not allowed to do those things.
Looks like Arkansas too.
Seaside, I just have no read on this team. They don't have really any size inside, and it's kind of hard when you're really just relying on RJ Davis to just go win you a couple games, and they haven't found any sort of answer inside. Bring in Cade Tyson, and did you guys see the video of Cade Tyson? There was
the one shot
of the one shot he took. He passes up an open 3, steps back, waits a second, then takes it and hits the other side of the backboard.
You talk about a kid who has lost confidence.
Yeah.
Like he was coming out of the portal this last offseason, was highly coveted. You're talking about a 6'7" kid that came from Belmont that could really shoot the ball. And so who don't need a 6'7" experienced dude that's a big time scorer shooter? He shot like 42%, was top 10 in the nation 3-point shooting last year. And he came to Carolina and it's not been a fit. Like to that point of that clip, he took one shot, completely missed it, and his confidence is gone, man. Like his confidence is gone, and it sucks to see it. Like that's a weapon if they could ever get him going, but unfortunately, it looks like it's just not going to happen at Carolina for him. Wake Forest, real quick. Cam Hildreth's 20 points. He was great in this game. Hunter Salas, 14, 9 rebounds from Hunter Salas, contributing when he's not only just scoring, but getting to the glass, which it was desperately needed. Trevon Spillers got the MVP of this game on KenPom, 12 points, 9 rebounds. Like, we'll see. And that point that you made, DeRosa, about the stretch coming up is going to be very telling. If Wake wants to make the tournament, remember, was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. They beat Duke in February, and I even came on this show and was like, oh, they're locked. It's like 2 weeks before Selection Sunday. They're locked. They're going to make tournament. They lose like their next 4 in a row and miss the tournament. So I've done this with Wake before. Let's see if they can actually build off this and get some momentum. But Carolina, Wake Forest, they're going up. So
great. Can I tell a random recruiting story related to a Wake Forest?
Yeah, go ahead. We love it. We love it.
So Parker Friedrichsen comes off the bench for Wake Forest. Kid from Oklahoma. I'm at Rice, and we recruit him early, hard, often. I mean, he was top of my list. Like, we wanted him. He was such a perfect fit for what we did, right? Bring him in on an official visit. And so on the official visits, you know, they can be cookie cutter in some ways. You're always trying to be creative. How can you be different? Well, you also got to try and get to know the kids really well, right? So I found out the kid and the family, like he's like close to a scratch golfer. He's a very good golfer. And so I told the staff, let's do something, you know, should we go to Top Golf? No, you know, everybody does that. Well, at Rice, downstairs in the old racquetball, there's racquetball courts down at Rice, and the golf program turned him into a simulator. So I asked the golf coach, can he put up Pebble Beach for Parker and I? We went in there by ourselves and we played the back nine of Pebble Beach on a recruiting visit.
That's cool.
That is sick.
That's cool.
I was proud of myself. I didn't get him. He went to Notre Dame. Once Notre Dame came in, we were done. And then Bray retired. And then, you know, the kid realized he was a high major player. And then that's when Forbes came in and swooped in and got him to Wake. Great kid. Great kid. Great family.
That's a great story, man. Coach, if you've told us obviously over this year so far about all the what ifs in recruiting, or if you would have been able to keep players, man. We
were in on some good ones. I'm proud of that. You know, you probably need to win just a little more. Rice wasn't sexy enough for some people, which I totally understand. We had to get the right kind of guys.
Yeah. I mean, great story. I've loved these collection of stories. Hey, real quick, we did preview it, so I do want to bring it up. I actually sat down and watched this entire game. We talked about Cade Tyson coming from a Belmont, so a good transition. Bradley and Belmont played at Belmont on Tuesday night in a really good game. Bradley is leading the MVC, as we talked about. Belmont was only a game out. Game was very competitive. There was a stretch there. And like kind of the middle third of the game, Bradley got the lead up to 16, and Belmont rallied, reeled off like 8 straight to get it under single digits, and just could never find the complete rally. Christian Davis from Bradley led all scorers with 19. They had 3 dudes with 12 points, including Duke Dean, who we previewed. Jaquan Johnson, freshman off the bench, 17. Was really good in this game for Bradley. I want to mention something. And then on the Belmont side, I talked about Carter Witt. He led Belmont with 15 points. 3-point shooting, we previewed this. Bradley, to Michael's point, is the best 3-point shooting team in the country. They go 11 of 28 for 39%. Belmont goes 11 of 37 for 29%, but they still hit 11 of them. These two teams, if you've ever get a chance to watch these two or a Valley game like this, up and down the floor, Belmont dropped back into a 2-3 zone, and they played fast. Their tempo was high, really good shot makers on both ends of the floor. I was thoroughly entertained by this game. Bradley is just, dude, they've got for a mid-major, 6'7", 6'6", 6'9", 7'1", 6'10" comes off the bench. Corey Thomas played 15 minutes, only gave him 2 points, but 4 rebounds. They are a big-ass mid-major.
What's their overall record, Josh?
They're 17-3, 8-1 in the Valley.
So if they win the Valley, who wants to play them in the first round of the NCAA?
That's the thing, right? We can talk about this just real quick. Bradley, we know upsets happen in conference tournaments.
Oh, is this your team, Michael?
But
this was not. This was. I was actually going to ask Josh this question, so I might as well. I'll just go ahead before you speak. I mean, you saw Josh. You mentioned how good these teams are shooting. 22 of 23 from the line.
I know.
If a team can shoot that well from the line, they can shoot it from three. So it adds up. This is a team. Coach mentioned it. You do not want to play them. You do not want to play them in March because if they get hot, you don't. Say goodbye. And on the year, they're shooting like 41% from three, which is crazy. Their opponents are shooting 29%. So at some point, that's probably going to find its level a little bit. But at the same time, they can shoot the hell out of the ball, man. They can shoot the hell out of the ball.
Well, not only that, but like the tempo coach, like Bradley wins the Valley. They're probably going to be like maybe an 11 seed at best, but realistically, probably that 12, 13 seed, if we're being honest. And that is an awful matchup potentially for some 5 or 4 seed in this tournament, because to Michael's point, they shoot the three ball well. They shoot a pretty good volume of them. 28 threes is about to the average of some of the higher tempo teams that want to shoot. And they're big, like I said. And how about this? Darius Hannah, who the 6'9" senior, plays that 4 power forward spot, 5 assists. They have a star in Duke Dean and Christian Davis that can go get buckets. You have a 4-man, the way they play and the tempo kind of spread the game out, that dropped 5 assists, gave 7 rebounds and 12 points. He ends up fouling out of the game. And then the 7-1 center, like this is a really tough matchup. And Belmont, look, I hope these two teams, I think they play again in the Valley because the round robin in this conference, but I hope they match up in the Valley tournament.
What's your 10 palm, Josh?
Who, Bradley?
Yeah.
They're 81st. 81st.
What's
Bradley's 75th. They were 81st.
Oh, 70. Oh, yeah. I just seen it where it updated. When I was clicked on it, it said 81st. 75th? Yeah, they're 75th. So they're top 75 for a mid-major team. Like, and they're only 3 losses. Really, like, solid teams. Washington State, Santa Clara, and Drake. Wow. That's the only 3 losses they have.
Yeah, they're going to be a problem. If they make the tournament, they're a problem.
They're going to be a problem. Really fun game, though. I was really happy I sat down and watched that. Keep an eye on Bradley. I think Belmont plays a really fun style, too. Mm-hmm. Like, I think they play really fun. Let's move on from that. Let's go back to the Big East. Xavier St. John's the other night, Michael. Your thoughts on that? Because Xavier, it feels like a game that probably they blew, and St. John's kind of pulled out of the fire there to drag it in overtime, get a win.
This is the second time St. John's has just pulled a game right out of their ass that they probably shouldn't have won. And it was their defense late. Their defense really made a difference in this game. I mean, they're an excellent defense, and they just have a ton of length. And you're getting Davon Smith back. Davon Smith is maybe the best athlete in the conference. He also might not be the best athlete on their team because they have RJ Lewis, Kadari Richmond, guys like that. So really, really athletic team, and they just found a way in this spot. This was a really even game. The 8-point result does not do it justice. This game was 50-50. Frankly, Xavier probably should have won at some points. I was impressed. Zach Fremantle really controlled this game, but I was impressed on the St. John's side. Zuby Ejiofor, again, is just the most improved player in the Big East. They got RJ Lewis going really late, but it was the swarming defense just really causing enough chaos in the backcourt to help them go on that run slowly but surely. And Kadari Richmond is a guy who is either really locked in or just not. He's just one of those guys. It's kind of like he wants to play or he just doesn't. It's kind of like broad strokes explaining it, but like that's kind of what it feels like. He was locked in this game. Once they got down, he really locked in. 19.6, 7 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals. When he is on, he is as good as any player in the conference, and he made life tough. Ryan Conn was able to hit some threes on the other side, but really they got in Davion McKnight's grill. And McKnight, 6 assists, only 2 turnovers, 3 steals, but he wasn't creating much on the offensive end. They just found a way to annoy him, and in turn, I think that kind of got the tide turning a little bit later on in this game.
At 50-36, I thought my bank on it was money. and then it was 50-40, 50-44, 51. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah. I still like signs from Xavier, right? They had been starting to put together. It feels, if you're Sean Miller, you feel like you gave one away there. And St. John's, like Simeon Wiltshire, the sophomore, gives 16 points in this game, like you mentioned. That's a kid, former 5-star kid that could have went to North Carolina, stays and plays for Rick Pitino and St. John's. And if you get him going, and I've thought this since he came in last year, I know as a freshman, it was harder for him to get extended run. But if you can get him going, that could be that offensive punch, I think, that that could really kind of turn St. John's in from maybe being a Sweet 16 ceiling to maybe higher. I think if you ever get the best out of him, Michael, that's where St. John's will really start to take off, I think.
Absolutely. And you heard Pitino talk in the offseason about how much they really liked Sim Wilcher, how high they were on Sim Wilcher. But on the other side, when they're not hitting shots on the outside, it's going to be tough to trust them. Against Creighton, they hit 2 threes. Against Butler, they shot 1 of 21 from 3. Against Xavier in the first game, the one where they really dominated that game, 2 of 16 from 3. Then they found their shot, hit 7 against Villanova, won fairly handily, hit 8 against Georgetown, came back and won, hit 7 against Seton Hall in a really pathetic effort from Seton Hall. But in this game, again, only 1 3 made. This is a team that they're hard to trust from the outside. In the earlier conference games, too, the ones in December. Against DePaul, they hit 3. Against Providence, they hit 3 of 18. It's just, it's hard to trust a team that cannot shoot from the outside when that could matter in March. At some point, that's going to matter.
Yeah.
So right. I don't know. I don't feel like I don't trust the St. John's team like other people really do. I don't. And
makes sense.
Maybe they burn me for it. They definitely can. That defense is swarming. But if they're not able to hit shots and if they're playing a Bradley in the first round,
yeah,
shit, man, that team hits 4 threes in a row. Good luck, and they can do that.
It'll be interesting.
Transition to swarming defense.
Yeah, talk about Houston. You were there.
I went to a game last night and saw swarming defense, but that's the kind of their MO. I mean, we talked about these stats, and I'm looking at them now. They scored 36, and I'm telling you, it was really hard to get to 36. Like, I thought they were going to lose by 45 or 50 points.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, Houston, missing the starter, 2 guard, what's his Sharp?
Oh, yeah, Emmanuel Sharp, yeah.
Okay, he's out, did not play. They're up by 40 with like 8 minutes left in the game. They only shot 5 of 18 from 3, and Utah couldn't even complete a pass across half court. That's how good Houston was. And by the way, this isn't like a Division II team. This is Utah.
Yeah.
They did this too. That's the thing people need to understand. And you know what? It's becoming like a ho-hum now for Houston because they do it so often. Like, these teams are damn good teams.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying Utah's making the NCAA tournament, but they're like 14-5.
Yeah.
Or 13-6. Total destruction.
I mean, sorry, DeRosa, go ahead.
Utah had 26 turnovers and 13 made field goals. They had 0.61 points per possession. That is an ass kicking. I mean, that it is justified to use the word ass kicking. It was Wow. Yeah, that's a statement. This Houston defense is. I remember early in the season, Houston played Butler, and I'm like, this Houston team's vulnerable. They're not that good. Idiot. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, they're good.
Man, they're good. Like, I don't know.
And in that building, they're even better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I mean, real quick before I move on here, how Ken Pom breaks it down into quarters, right? Instead of the halves where half 1, half 2, it's in the quarters. Houston in the quarter 1 and quarter 3. Quarter 1 outscored Utah 23-5, and quarter 3 17-5. That's insane. Insane. Like, just
it's
nuts.
Hard to believe. I mean, you're watching it live. It's just like they can't even get a pass that matters.
Yeah. I mean, keep in mind, those are 10-minute segments.
Yeah.
They had 2 10-minute segments where they allowed Utah to score 5 points in 10 minutes. It's insane. Like, it's nuts. Real quick, we had a couple other top 25 losses. We're not going to go over all of them. I just want to get your thoughts just real quick. Maybe any of them surprise you. UCLA beats number 19 Wisconsin. UCLA needed a win, stop the bleeding. Wisconsin's got us twice this year now. Remember earlier in the year, we ranked them as high as like 11, and then they lost a couple. We rank them again this week up to 19th. Now they lose. UCLA needed to win, stop the bleeding. Arizona State goes on the road and beats number 20 West Virginia. West Virginia, same thing as Wisconsin. We rank them. They lose the next game. And then Texas, needing a win, they beat number 21 Missouri, who had been on a heater on the road as well. Or sorry, I think they got that at home, right? I think Texas, yes, Texas won that at home. So 19, 20, and 21 in our top 25 all lose this week as well. Anything of that, guys, surprise you or anything like that real quick?
Well, Big Ten for me, and we talked about this at length too in the preseason. 3 through 14, there's not a whole lot. Like, there's going to be a lot of teams beating a lot of teams. And there's going to be a lot of 11-9 teams in that league, or 9-11 teams in that league.
Yeah. Big Ten, I was looking at the bracket matrix when we were talking about Bradley. It looks like Wisconsin at this point, obviously it's going to change a ton, but Wisconsin looks like they're on the 5 line. If they're 5 and Bradley's 12, I'm taking Bradley. That's a spot I'm just targeting an upset. And then on the Missouri side, I don't know. I just don't really trust that team yet. I don't know why. I just don't trust them. Like, I saw this game on the schedule and was like, yeah, Texas is going to win this game. That's not a Texas team I really like. So they're definitely a team I want to watch a little bit more, see if I'm justified in not trusting them. Like, one of the things they do really well is they get to the line a ton, and it's easy points once you're shooting free throws. They're called free throws for a reason. But I don't know. That's a team I want to look at a little deeper. I just don't trust them right now, though.
Well, I tell you may not trust Missouri, but who you can trust is our friends and sponsors over at W Energy. W is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or angst like other energy drinks. They have no maltodextrin fillers and don't use artificial dyes. W contains vitamins, amino acids, and nootropic, and 150 milligrams caffeine. Their product is made in the USA in an FDA-inspected facility that strictly adheres to GMP manufacturing guidelines. If you go visit www.w.gg now, go place an order at checkout, use the promo code ECB10. You will get 10% off of your purchase. We appreciate our friends over at W Energy for hopping on board with us this year, and go get yourself some good energy drinks and use the promo code to save yourself some money. Promo code ECB10 at checkout. Go to www.w.gg now, and then hook our friends up in the process, helping us out. We got a big weekend. Another one. It's like, who is it? DJ Khaled. Another one. It's big ones. Couple top 10 matchups, top 15 matchups. And I think we have to start with, in my opinion, the biggest game of the day on Saturday. Number 10, Tennessee, on the road at the Jungle, or in the Jungle, against number 1 Auburn. As I dubbed it for part of this podcast episode title, the Bruce Pearl Bowl. Tennessee is former school. Auburn is current school. Top 10 matchup in the Southeastern Conference, Coach. This should be entertaining, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the number of games in this conference that we would be talking about on this show is just going to be very long, and this is on the middle of that list with what all that probably is to come yet. But I'm taking Auburn at home, and I think. I just think, again, I just think they're the better team, and I think at home it's going to be a 7 to 10 point win.
I think this is the spot where Auburn feels not having Jani Broome. I think we've been kind of waiting for that spot, that team to show up, and I think it's right here. I just think the way Tennessee's able to defend, they're going to really need that safety net, and I just don't think they have it. And I think they're going to struggle a little bit more than they have in any other game the rest of the season to score. And I think because of that, I think Tennessee can go on the road and win this game. I'm going to take Tennessee. I think it's like a relatively coin flip because it is in Auburn, but I'm going Tennessee. Give me Tennessee by like 3.
See, I'll split the difference here. 1 Auburn, 1 Tennessee, and I make cases for both. Tennessee's defense suffocating. Auburn right there at the top of the list on offense and defense, even without Jani Broome. Obviously better with Jani Broome. If Jani was playing, I say this is an Auburn route, because I don't think Tennessee can just, no matter how good their defense is, Auburn is shredded good. Like, Iowa State's got an elite defense, and Auburn beat them, right? So without Jani Broome, this makes it a lot more interesting. I simplify it. I think Chaz Lanier, again, those first 10 minutes on the road, if he's hot, he can carry them to a huge upset road victory. If he is not, the same question. Where are the points coming from against Auburn's size and length, and just the way they run actions on those flex cuts is going to really test Tennessee's defense and how they like to guard stuff. Tahad Pettiford, I think, is a big key. Now, Zakai Ziegler will make his life hell, but you're also getting a change of pace guard that comes in that's different from what Zakai will have to guard to begin the game. Denver Jones, I think, could struggle because Zakai Ziegler is probably going to be on him. But Chad Baker-Mazara, as with his antics and all, he can get on heaters. I like Auburn in this game at home without Jani Broome. I think offense will be the key in this game, of course, and I think Auburn has the better scoring output options than Tennessee. Look for Tahad Pettiford to go off. I'm going 20+ for Tahad Pettiford. Auburn wins fairly comfortable at the end. I think it'll be close for about 34 minutes. Auburn pulls away late. I expect a bunch of fouls. I'm telling you right now, SEC officiating, these two teams are physical. Expect a shit ton of fouls in this game. I'm going Auburn at home. Let's go to another big-time matchup. Let's go back to the Big 12. We just talked about Houston. Number 6 Houston goes to Fog Allen Fieldhouse to play number 12 Kansas. Jayhawks, we've talked about how we cannot get a good read on them. We talk about their offense being suspect at best. Houston's elite defense. But unless your name's West Virginia right now, you don't go inside Fog Allen Fieldhouse and get a win against the Jayhawks coach. Houston's defense, Kansas struggling offense, but it is a different game when they're playing in the friendly confines of Fog Allen.
Yeah, and I'm anxious to see the status of Sharp. They're saying he might play. If he plays, this is one of my things I was considering for my bank on it. I'm going to take the Cougs on the road, especially if Sharp plays.
Yeah, I think Sharp's status makes a difference because he is such an important floor spacer for this Houston team. Big body too. I think this game is going to be low scoring. These are two teams that are defense first. Kansas's offense, they really want to get you inside the arc. I think Houston can suffocate that. And on the other end, that's where Houston wants to get a lot of their offense too. And I think Kansas will suffocate that. I think we're talking about a game that could be in the 50s.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh.
No, I thought you were done. I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish your point.
See, I'm not going to lie. I was stalling because I didn't really have a pick on this.
Okay, well, I'll take over for a second. I'm with you. I think Emmanuel Sharp's status makes this different. If he plays, Houston has every opportunity in the world. I want to see Terrence Arsenault have a big game in this. I think he can. If he does not play, I think Kansas can roll in this game, to be honest. But it all depends on his status. Will the real Hunter Dickinson please stand up? Because that dude has been like disappearing somehow in the last, 3 weeks, a month.
He better get ready for some post traps on Saturday.
Yeah.
He needs to be ready with those post traps. He does pass out of the traps and double teams well. Opposite side corner and kickouts on the wing. That's where Zeke Mayo needs to be spot up, ready to shoot. I think Zeke Mayo has a big game. I think Kansas's offense, I won't say gets back on track, but I think they can get to 70. And you get to 70, I think you win. Give me the Jayhawks by a couple points.
I'm gonna roll with Houston. I'm gonna go with the Cougs. I'm going with Coach. Give me Houston like 58-52.
I love it. Number 23. Also, these are Saturday games, by the way. Number 23, UConn on the road at Xavier. We've talked about Xavier. They've been playing better. They did lose that game to St. John's. UConn, a mixed bag at best. Still trying to play without Liam McNeely. Danny Hurley losing his damn mind again, left and right. Do you know who I am? I'm the best effing coach in the game. That's a real quote from him, by the way. Coach, these are two friends of yours. This should be a good game. Xavier needs wins to try to put themselves in tournament discussion. They got a big opportunity Saturday at home in the Centos Center. Can Xavier get it done against UConn?
Well, Sean's press conference, I think he said we play UConn, Creighton, somebody, and the Lakers.
Yeah.
Two guys I'm very friendly with. Respect them both. Tough call for me on this one. Sean needs to win more. And it's at home. Boy, it's tough picking against UConn though. But I guess I'll gun to my head. I'll go Xavier.
I think McNeely's status is important, and we do not.
Oh, it is. I agree too.
Yeah. I think this UConn team without McNeely is very, very vulnerable. Frankly, I don't think they're like anything special without McNeely. I just think I think he's been their best player for large stretches of the season. And the way he's able to create from the wing, really high basketball IQ, they're not replacing. Jalen Stewart's a good player, but he's not replacing Liam McNeely, who's we're going to hear his name called. What's up?
He's a first round draft pick.
Yeah, we're going to hear his name called early in June or whenever the draft will be. I'm frankly, another thing with UConn is their defense is nothing special. In particular, they foul a lot, 1, but 2, their 3-point defense isn't good either. And those are 2 areas Xavier really thrives in. I think if Xavier wants to make the tournament, this is the game they have to have. And I think they're going to get it. I got Xavier in the spot. I got Xavier by like 7 to 10 points, frankly. I think this is I think this is the spot for the Musketeers.
Look, I'm in total agreement. UConn in conference play right now in the Big East. They're 8th in the conference in defense right now. And Xavier, despite the loss to St. John's, has started to figure out a little bit offensively. Having Fremantle back obviously really helps. But I will say this. If it comes down to a clutch shot late in the game, Connecticut's going to win because Caravan's going to make the play. So if Xavier wants to win, make sure the game is out of reach before it gets down to the final 30 seconds, or else Caravan's going to make a play to beat you. I like Xavier home. I think this is a spot they desperately need. Crowds should be energized and electric. Give me the Musketeers on a big win on Saturday. This one's on Friday. Number 24, Michigan, on the road at number 10, Purdue. Big Ten clash. Both these teams battling towards the top of the league. Michigan obviously playing inspired basketball this year with Dusty May at the helm. Purdue coming off of a loss we just talked about top of the show at home, trying to start a new streak at Mackey. Michael, I'll come to you first on this one. Purdue needs a 4th option. Michigan, not Dusty Wolf, what's his name? Danny Wolf. It should be a matchup nightmare because I don't know who Purdue puts on him. You can't put Fletcher Lawyer. He's too small. You can't put Trey Kaufman in because Wolf, what he does, plays like a point guard at 7 foot. I don't know how Purdue matches up in this game. I think Purdue's only hope to win is Braden Smith plays like the All-American he is. And I think Fletcher Lawyer finally needs to hit. Like, have one of those games where he hits like 6, 7, 8 threes. I like Michigan in the spot on the road just because I don't think Purdue can match up with them.
I agree with every single point you made. One thing Purdue struggles with is their defense on the interior is not great. And you're going against 2 7-footers. That's a really tough matchup. And you mentioned it. I think Braden Smith's going to have a great game. I think Purdue has the guard advantage in this game. Like, you're going against 2 fine, but not great guards at Michigan. I agree with everything you said, except the pick. I'm going the other side. I just trust Mackey Arena. There's no logic behind it other than I trust Mackey Arena.
Hey, I've been there, man. It's an electric building. It's a great building.
I'm going with a streak they don't want. 2 in a row, 2 losses in a row in Mackey. I'm taking Michigan.
Yeah, I think it's such individual bad matchups. And if they don't have a 4th option, I think Michigan can just eat them up in a simple pick and roll. I really do. I could be wrong. Probably will be wrong. But I like Michigan in this spot. Saturday, Georgetown, Providence. Ed Cooley, I know he returned for the first time last year, but there should be a lot of heat on this game. Providence is not good. Georgetown, we've talked about really trying to play to see if they can't get in that NCAA tournament. They need a game like this on Saturday. DeRosa, I know this is your team. Do you think Providence will be as heated for Cooley's return for the second time as they were last year, or do you think it dies down a little bit?
I think it's going to die down quite a bit. You're looking at the roster. I believe there are 2 Cooley holdovers left. I believe it's Jaden Pierre and Corey Floyd. And Bryce Hopkins still on the roster, but he's not playing in this game.
Right.
He's out for the season, unofficially, but he's not playing for the rest of the season. In this spot, I'm not going to lie. I think Georgetown matches up really well. Providence doesn't force turnovers. That's one thing Georgetown really struggles with. They don't handle the ball really well. And Georgetown finally got Jaden Epps back on Wednesday. And they didn't start that game well. You could tell he was clearly getting his feet back under him. Same with Sorber. They got him back, even though he just missed 1 game. But later the game, it was Jaden Epps' time. Jaden Epps took over. Micah Peavy's not hitting 6 threes in any game for the rest of the season again. That's not happening again. But I think Georgetown matches up really well with this Providence team, frankly. And in Georgetown's press conference at the end of the game, Peavy said, we're playing next game and we're going to look to win that one for Coach Cooley. So I think Coach Cooley is going to have the guys really up for this game. While for Kim English, it's just another game. Like, these guys, aside from the 2 on the roster, they don't care a ton about that rivalry. That was a Devin Carter thing. He really cared. Joshua Duro was involved in that. Like, he knows the situation. He knew the moment. This group's different. And Providence is a team, I think another matchup angle is for them in the games when they win high major games, they get a really good game from Bensley Joseph. When he's not awesome, they're pedestrian at best. And Georgetown has, if they want to put PV on him, I think you can just completely shut him out. And Jaden Epps is much improved defensively this year too. You put him on him, you can restrict a bit of what Bensley Joseph does. And I think that offense just kind of crumbles. I got Georgetown in this game. I got Georgetown by double digits.
Coach, he talked about Houston and Kansas being like a 50-point type game, or not 50 type point, but like in the 50s. I think this could mirror that. I think a lot of missed shots, really good defense. I think Georgetown gets the win, but it's going to be like 61-54.
I got Georgetown 75-50 blowout.
Ooh, that'd be nice for you, wouldn't it, Michael?
Yeah. I'd enjoy that very, very much.
I like that. What that's assuming, and I could see that Georgetown gets up big and Providence just quits.
Yeah.
They pulled Indiana and just quit.
It would have to be.
Let's go to bank on as we start to round out episode 211 here. And I could not think of one that I felt really good about. I'm going to go via 3-pack this week. I normally don't do that. I'm going to give you a 3-pack, and they all involve upsets. Saturday, Texas takes down Texas A&M. They're playing at home. A&M beat them up in the round one, the first game of conference play, the first ever SEC game a couple weeks ago for Texas. I don't think the Longhorns are good, and I don't think that they're playing better necessarily, but they did get a win on their home court the other day against number 21 Missouri. A&M, they've just been so up and down without Wade Taylor. I'd be curious to see if he plays. I think Texas defends home court in the Moody Center, takes down A&M. Upset number 2, Wake Forest takes down Duke. They got them last year. They're getting them again because they know they need the wins. To what we talked about earlier, they are getting Duke. Duke's playing as well as anybody in the country. In our top 25, they closed the gap. They're number 2. They closed the gap on Auburn to where it's only like 11 points separates them. That's how good they are right now. I think Wake Forest stops their win streak, gets them at home. Duke will be, for the first time in probably a month, will be rattled a little bit, maybe make some mistakes late. Wake Forest plays out of their mind, gets them. And the other one, let's go to the Mountain West. UNLV takes down New Mexico. UNLV is 5-3 in the league. New Mexico is leading the conference at 8-1. UNLV, they're coming off the loss to Wyoming, but before that, they have beaten some good teams in that league. They're playing well. Give me UNLV over New Mexico. I've got 3 upsets on Saturday. Bank on all 3 of them.
Mine is tonight in the Big West. UC Santa Barbara Gauchos, my ex-assistant and player Derek Lasser's on the staff there. They take down UC San Diego, who's very good, and a double-digit favorite tonight at home. I got Santa Barbara. Bank on it.
I love that.
I like it. This is a spot where I just discovered this team is not playing at their normal home, which is kind of annoying because I'm not going to lie. They were my bank on it. It's a team I've trusted, and I'm still keeping it because I don't have the time to look through every single game and pick another team. It's a team I've trusted a lot in past years. This year, I don't trust as much. I expected to like them a lot more than I do this year, but they just haven't lived up to expectations. But in this spot, in Madison Square Garden, Rutgers takes down Michigan State. Bang on it. We're getting a big game from Dylan Harper. Big game.
Hey, bright lights, big city.
Yep.
Let's see if the freshmen shine against Mississippi State. Shout outs real quick. You could go 2 Louisville players. I'll pick the point guard from the other night. They beat the dog shit out of SMU on the road. Chucky Hepburn sets the Louisville single game assist record, breaks Francisco Garcia's record, who was previously 15. He has 16 assists. Louisville continues to roll. They've won 9 in a row. He's had 16 assists. Incredible outing. Chucky Hepburn's been amazing. Texas A&M, I know I predict them in the bank on it to get beat Saturday, but to only lead with that final shot that they had on the road against Ole Miss in a top 20 showdown, that's pretty impressive right there to pull one out of the fire. So shout out A&M. And a guy we've not talked about really, and I'll butcher his last name, Maxime Reynaud. Is it Reynard?
Reynaud. I think it's Reynaud.
Reynaud. Maxime Reynaud from Stanford. 28 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals in the blowout win over Miami, Florida, 88-51. This dude is projected, the last I saw, I think like a lottery pick or close to lottery pick in the NBA draft, has been quietly having a really, really, really good year for Stanford right now. He is amazing. Stat sheet stuffer. If you get a chance to catch a Stanford game, watch this kid play. He is amazing. So those are my 3 shout outs.
That leads right into mine. Stanford gets mine. 4 out of 5 wins. Stanford's hot. Kyle Smith, another guy I've known forever, a good friend, and he's got Stanford playing really well. My other shout out is going to go to a guy that had something unfortunate happen, and that's Kyle Keller. Stephen F. Austin coach got fired, I think, yesterday. I think he's like 160 something and 80 there. He beat Duke. He's taking that team to the NCAA tournament. Yeah, they're having a little bit of a down year in the conference. Kyle is a respected coach, a good coach. And a shout out to Kyle, and because obviously, during midseason too, just extra tough.
They got a timeout. They don't use it. Bang! Yes, The Lumberjacks have done it. That call's always in my head when they end up beat Duke. I usually come in with like 5 to 7 shout. I come in banging with shout outs, right?
Yeah.
I've only got one today because I want to spend some time talking about this team. I watched them again last night. Utah State is the best team nobody's talking about. They're 17-2, 7-1 in league play. My goodness, the performance they put on last night was as good as any I've seen all season. They put belt to ass in beating a good Nevada team, forced 18 turnovers, and the way the ball was moving, oh my goodness, they had 27 assists on 33 made buckets.
Wow.
That's efficient. That's efficient.
Swarming defensively, forcing 18 turnovers. That press they ran out there, and they run this weird matchup zone where the communication has to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Just watching them communicate, oh my goodness, this team, they're my sleeper Final Four team. If any, it's Utah State. This team can shoot the ball. They go 11 deep. They have so many dudes. This team rules. Just going up and down the roster. Dayton Albury's a Queens transfer. He's like 5'10". He had this crazy alley-oop off 2 feet, one-hand jam. They threw it up to him. He caught it, slammed it. Awesome. Mason Falslevs is one of the best mid-major players in the country nobody's talking about. He's averaging 15.6 points per game on the season, shooting 52% from the field, 44% from three. Last night he wasn't shooting it well. 9 assists, 4 steals. 11 assists, 4 steals, only 1 turnover. Going down this Utah State roster, Ian Martinez had one of the best heat checks I've seen all season. Hit 2 in a row, just crucial. 7 of 9 from 3. Dexter Akano off the bench, Oregon State transfer, 15 points. This Utah State team rules. They are awesome. If you have not watched them play, watch them play. 1st of February, they have New Mexico. I believe they go to New Mexico, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Tune into that game. That game is going to be special. This team rules. They can make a Final Four. If you haven't, I believe I've mentioned them in a couple of times on a podcast.
Yeah, you have.
Camping in, all in. This Utah State team is going to win a game in the tournament. I'm locking that in. They are damn good.
Get this man some Utah State gear for that. I love that.
Love this team.
John Beilein, I don't remember if it was with his West Virginia or Michigan, ran he'd throw it out sometimes, a 1-3-1 matchup, and you watch the dudes, like the top guy would pass off. It was incredible. Matchup zones are really fun. We used to run it when I coached. But incredible episode, really good insight here on episode 211. We hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave a like leave a like on this video. Follow us, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We'll be back at you on Sunday where we talk about all this action and more. We've got another big week coming up with some big games in the early week. We got a lot to talk about on Sunday, but until then, we hope you guys enjoyed this, and we will catch you guys down the road. Peace.